Hey guys, it's Maple here once again. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the Blade Vortex Elementalist, which was formerly Stormburst and Ball Lightning, converted into full-blown Blade Vortex, still as an Elementalist, and going to show you some gameplay, some endgame, some single target, all of that. Basically, it's a really strong character, and I'm pretty damn happy with how this turned out for Blade Vortex, because I have played a few Blade Vortexes in the past, and the most recent one is Full Conversion Inquisitor. Currently though, I do feel that Full Conversion Elementalist could maybe be better than Inquisitor, or at the very least compete very strongly, because of the strength of the ascendancy of the Elementalist, through the Prolif nodes and the Heralds and all of that. You do actually get some pretty insane clear speed from Blade Vortex without needing to invest heavily into area or rely on something like a Nova EK, whereas currently I feel like the Inquisitor doesn't really clear that well with his Blade Vortex, since the area is going to be a bit small, and you do really want to end up relying on EK, and you don't want to have two setups, at least not too often in too many characters. So having this one with just pure Blade Vortex charge through and explode every single pack it comes into has been really satisfying. So I have had a really good single target while also maintaining a really strong clear speed for the character, averaging something like 100 million an hour at level 90, because I only respec the character into Blade Vortex at about level 89 or 90, because I definitely realized the single target potential was a lot higher of Blade Vortex than Stormburst, as can be seen here. And I've done a bunch of maps at the tier 14, 15 level. This is a tier 14, and you can see just what happens by the end of this little clip when a lot of shit goes off with the Impulsor and the Herald of Ice combination against a bunch of mobs. So if your computer and internet connection are not really quite top tier, I'm not sure this is the build for you, but hey, it's still quite fun otherwise. It's just simply the explosion all happening at once with the Herald of Ice and the Impulsor, mostly the Herald of Ice. If you really cannot handle this level of explosion, then Herald of Ice in this setup is not for you. So from here on out, I've got a bit of single target examples. This is a red tier Elder. I cleaned up the Guardians real quick and then went ahead and did just one red tier Elder before jumping into the tier 16 Guardians and then tier 16 Elder Guardians, and then one attempt at Uber Elder, which was my first ever attempt, and I will show you just a few highlights from that. But important things to note here as you're watching: this damage is fucking insane. So this is all on a 5-link. All of these single target examples were going to be and are on a 5-link, except for the Uber Elder attempt, where I did end up buying a 6-link so that I could be as prepared as I possibly could be. But this 5-link damage is pretty crazy. I'm not fully Ellie converted, I'm 80% converted, so that is the Fizz to Lightning gem, and then using Storm Charger boots. And then the rest, 20%, is just Fizz. Doesn't really matter. Most of our damage is going to be Lightning, and then a bunch of extra Fire, Cold, and Herald damage coming from the Heralds, the Shaper weapon, and a Shaper neck. And I'll go over the gear quite soon for you as well. It's not super expensive, especially with the availability of Shaper gear right now, but the more you put in, the more you're going to get out, obviously. So the 5-link damage is pretty damn nice, and this is mostly going to be fairly hard-rolled Guardians. This one specifically has monster damage and poison, so it's kind of hard to face tank, but if you can do that, the damage should be quite nuts. And the 5-link is a little bit of a detriment because you don't get to use Conk Effect, or you don't get to use Spell Echo in one of these setups. So I swap in Spell Echo swap out Spell Echo whenever I can for Conk Effect, as you can see there. So then I can't charge up my stacks quite fast enough, but when I do, yeah, bosses die quite profusely. So if I had a 6-link, the kills on these tier 16s would be probably a good 30, 40, 50% faster, something like that. But the 5-link is just fine to get through all of this sort of stuff. The phases are the most annoying things, as per usual. The leech is not too bad using our Beric's grip, because we leech off of shocked enemies. I don't quite have that much sustain regardless though. It is still going to be a bit of life flask interaction because I didn't really build the character specifically for endgame. If I did, it probably would have gone for something like 6k plus life, maybe some Combs roots, and that's ultimately where I fall short on the Uber Elder. Spoiler alert, do not manage to kill him. It was my first time trying Uber Elder after, basically a month of the league, because I've been not super lucky on the Elder spawns and not in that good of a standing for currency to be able to get all of those tier 16s, since you need like 12 rounds just to get it procced once. So it has been a struggle to even get to Uber Elder, and this is the first character I tried it with because he's geared and I thought he'd be okay. I honestly did not believe this character would be able to do it, and he really didn't. I was learning the experience still, so I didn't know all the interactions, and I did make quite a few mistakes here or there. I think it's possible that I could do it, and I may try again tomorrow as well, but it's probably not the greatest character for it. You do really need some higher mobility or some much better regen or some overleech. As well as that, the Combs roots help quite a lot for that level of encounter. For everything else though, the character went pretty damn well. Even on a 5 link here, the damage is really nice. The sustain is pretty good with the Stone Golem and the Rejuve Totem and the Leech that we get. And it's overall, I think, a really well-balanced character. The champion with Blade Flurry, probably stronger in every aspect because champion, because Blade Flurry. But by all means, for a spellcaster build, I thought this was pretty successful and a decent attempt at some Blade Vortex. Quite possibly my most enjoyable version of Blade Vortex, since the character has been really well-rounded on clear and single target. The aesthetics have been really top tier, and Elementalist has been quite fun in this entire regard. So to end off with, I do have just a couple little clips of what the Uber Elder fight looks like, and I'll probably attach my full attempt at the end of the video. But overall, impressions are damage was really good. I didn't honestly know what the fuck I was doing with the phases, so I knew that there were kind of phases here or there. I wasn't entirely sure what was happening in between phases. I wasn't sure what all the attacks were because I've only watched a couple of seconds of a few videos here or there. I've tried to go mostly blind into this. I didn't know there was an ad phase there. I was still trying to attack Elder, and likewise, during this ad phase, the damage seemed pretty good for the portals. I didn't know Elder even went immune here. I didn't know he's going to alternate immunity that often, every 25% and all that. And you can see that I do end up basically dying to trying to hit a immune Elder, where I'm getting no leeching back, not doing any damage, and just getting myself dicked. So I'll go over the character real quick for you guys, and then show you the rest of the fight at the end of the video. So the character, as I mentioned, is very much an Elementalist. Now that is currently level 91. I was going for 92, but then the Uber Elder attempt happened, and we know how that went, so goodbye XP. Long story short, it is now fully Blade Vortex, and it is full Ellie conversion Blade Vortex. You can see here, it's a level 21 Blade Vortex. They're like 3 or 4 Chaos, because there's a lot of those out there at the moment. So do pick yourself up one of these. The quality in the area doesn't really matter, because we're Elementalist. Now, like I said, I was running a 5 link throughout the entirety of that video, except for Elder, and the current 5 link is Blade Vortex, Fizz to Lightning, which is where we get most of our conversion from, Crit Strikes, Hypothermia, and then Spell Echo. And I was rarely swapping in Conk Effect on some single target fights for Spell Echo, simply because you get a bit more damage that way if you can maintain like 13, 14 stacks without Echo, but for the most part, Echo is a lot more comfortable to actually play with, even throughout most boss fights. Now, currently, the character is then also built around another 30% conversion over here, so you get 80% total physical to lightning conversion, with 20% left over for your physical damage. But you can see there is a bit of cold damage, a bit of fire, and some other stuff because we've got a weapon here like this here, and a bit of extra lightning here as well. And then on top of that, when we run a Herald here, a Herald there, a Herald there, we have triple Herald setup happening with the Elementalist buffs, and then a Wrath Aura as well with a Essence Worm Ring. And that is because we do deal quite a lot of lightning damage, so this Wrath Aura paired with the Watcher's Eye extra physical damage, which is something like 30C, 20C maybe, ends up being better than Hatred. So basically, if you don't have access to a Watcher's Eye with physical damage extra lightning from Wrath, or the rest of your physical converted into lightning, then Hatred is still going to be better, and it's also a large amount of cold damage for the build that you can fill out, which is then going to give you some additional freeze potential and chill potential and all of that. But currently my cold damage, the most bulk of it is coming from this sword. So I crafted the sword by just alt-reg, or actually I think I essence spammed or alt-regaled, I can't really remember, maybe chaos spam, until I got the cold damage mod and the attack speed mod. So it's just those two that were important. We then had one extra suffix filled in with dexterity. So all I had to do was then block the craft with, I think, Katarina level 8, something like that, where you block all attack mods from being exalted. So any more attack mods onto the weapon. You then make sure you have 3 suffixes filled that way. So whenever your exalt is going to come onto the sword, it's going to be a prefix, and it will be like 90% chance of an extra fire damage mod at that point. And I happen to hit a tier 3, I think. So that's how you make a dual-based weapon like this one on a foil. And I basically did that because I need the cold damage to start shattering things, and I thought that was the best way to do it without running Hatred. Alternatively, you can get an amulet with physical as extra cold. This one's physical as extra lightning, cost me like 30C. The cold ones do seem to be more expensive, but you definitely want some level of cold damage in the build. Herald of Ice just won't be enough to reliably shatter things, I don't think anyway. So you do want Hatred or a good weapon, or just a scepter, I guess, if you can't get something like this. A dagger works too. Ultimately, yeah, some attack speed is nice for the shield charge, some cold damage, some fire, some lightning, elemental into chaos, and random damage. There's a lot of cool stuff with shaper things out there for a Blade Vortex build right now, but that is the current weapon I've went with, and I do have the triple balance Wise Oak. So basically, I've made my Wise Oak maximum resists all exactly the same through some crafty ingenuity here or there with some crafting and some buying and some, yeah, all kinds of different stuff. So triple balance there, meaning I do get triple penetration and triple damage reduction, which is pretty damn important for me as an elementalist, since I deal a fairly large amount of all 3 different elements, and on top of the 25 pen there. So we have 25 across the board, then we have probably another 20 coming from Wise Oak. Ends up being quite a lot of penetration, so Inquisitor isn't at all necessary in this case, and then we're getting a lot of extra gain from Beacon of Ruin, which is always going to guarantee a shock on the enemy of at least 20%. You then have 20% increased effective non-damaging elements, which increases your shock. You then have increased effective shock here, increased effective shock here, some on the tree as well over here and here. Overall, you end up shocking for a lot more than just the base 20%, and it should end up netting you a lot more damage than what an Inquisitor could. So that's why Elementalist currently in this sort of setup is really strong. The triple penetration, the Beacon of Ruin for the shock, and as well as that, the Prolift then lets you shatter enemies a lot more reliably and spread out your AoE from the very small single target of Blade Vortex with no area on the tree anymore. I've gotten rid of all of the area there and there. Absolutely no area anywhere. The only area we get is temporarily from Pendulum of Destruction, which certainly helps and is noticeable at times. So it's not terrible, it's just not super reliable because every 5 seconds kind of a buff is fairly shitty. For the rest of the passive tree, as far as a respec is concerned, I had to make sure I got a bit more dexterity, a bit more life, and a few more jewel sockets. So that's how the respec went down. I got rid of the power charge. I took this duration over here, got a bit of extra mana, and my jewels now have something like life damage. That's what I tried to get on all of my jewels because I really do need to fill out my life for the end game content, and that's what I ended up doing. So we have 5.7, 5.8k life, something like that. You can get probably a little more if you try really hard, but that's the best I could do with the current gear I have. We're running a Barracks Grip for the shock leech, A little bit of frozen mana leech too. It just helps sustain throughout maps, but against boss fights, not really going to do anything. Running the Essence Worm with the Wrath, do the Hatred if you want, if you really value that more. And with an Enlighten attached to our 3 Heralds, so all 3 Heralds here, with an Enlighten level 3, which I leveled myself, that does give you a little bit of unreserved mana to actually cast your attacks. And currently in the 5-link setup, I can maintain that level of mana before a boss fight. In the 6-link, it is a little bit harder, but still completely doable. And make sure you're keeping up your Arcane Surge off of your Orb Storms quite regularly. Just pressing Orb Storms before a boss fight gets you your Arcane Surge. Quite a lot of extra mana regen, so it's nothing to sneeze at, and it definitely helps you sustain your mana. Mana is a bit of an issue, so make sure you keep your eye on it, grabbing a few mana nodes here, a few mana nodes here, keeping up your regen through nodes like this. But it's definitely something you will be noticing quite often. Mana is not too much fun, especially when you're not attacking things. When you do attack, you do get some mana leech here, and it does help a bit, but make sure you keep your Orb Storms with your Arcane Surge going. And I didn't use a 6-link up until now, so the 5-link is just fine for your mana purposes, and you shouldn't really be worried too much on mana with a 5-link. Now, aside from that, there's not really much else to mention on gear. I will say that the Atsiri Flask is a huge damage boost for a Blade Vortex, especially one that's fully converting with the Flask nodes over here. But I'm only running the Atsiri Flask for the endest of endgame bosses when I'm about to go into the tier 16 maps and all that. I map with the Quicksilver and then I zone out and put this on instead. Now, last few things to mention are I do, for the most part, run Assassin's Mark here just to sometimes curse if you really feel like it. I haven't really felt the need to just yet because it is a self-curse and it's not very good for bosses anyway. Over here we have Shield Charge, Fortify, and Faster Attacks. That's so you can shield charge around faster. With the Quicksilver and the Onslaught Flask, it's pretty quick. And then running Blood Rage as well throughout maps for the attack speed and for the frenzy generation. That's over here. Got a Rejuve Totem and a Stone Golem. That gives us quite a lot of regen and sustain during boss fights when you can actually pull it off and do some standing still, or at least let them survive is what I mean to say. So you do want to put them down fairly routinely as you can. But besides that, I guess the 6th link I should say is probably going to be Crit Multi, and then you sub in Conk Effect whenever you need to for boss fights. But I'd say Crit Multi is what you want to map with instead of Conk Effect. But yeah, that's the passive tree, that's the character. It was really fun. As a Blade Vortex version, I think this is probably one of the nicest that I could think of out there right now. Elementalist is nothing to sneeze at. It is very strong if you use it as it's supposed to be right now. And yeah, I'll leave you guys with the Uber Elder attempt. As I mentioned, it was my first one. Still learning. I think I might be able to do it if I try again tomorrow. We'll see how we go. But it's not the best character for it. You do really need some strong regen, some strong overleach like Slayer type of stuff, and quite possibly some Combs Roots. As well as that, Sapphire Flask, Purity of Ice by the looks of it. All that kind of stuff really will go a long way. Currently, I don't think I'm going to change anything else for this character for Uber Elder. You could build it a bit more smoother if you started from scratch, but I'm just too far on this character, not really going to change much. Might try it anyway, but here's the attempt. Yeah, it went as good as I thought it could have to begin with, but we definitely didn't get it done. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time. I'm fucking trying. Who do I attack first? I don't know. What's happening? Did I win? Am I dead? Okay, so there's a portal phase now. Okay. Like, I don't know what's going on. I didn't know there's a fucking second phase there.
M'lady.
Irashian. Think of the resub, man. Like, that went well, given the DPS. But yeah, I didn't know what to expect next. And now I think I'm in trouble. Oh no, we get to wind up out here. We could be okay then. So I do portal phase and shaper at the same time. No, man. Okay. Is he immune right now? He looks immune. I think I have to attack Shaper. Okay. I can't tell. I don't know what's going on. He's very immune. I mean, that would make sense as to why I wasn't doing much damage or leech or getting anything done. Professional PoE streamer. I mean, you don't really pay attention to that too much when you're looking at everything else and you don't know what's going on. Since it's your first time. It's my first day, chat. I just installed Path of Exile. Seems like a cool game. So he's immune now. Now I gotta do here. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty tough to fucking make it out of right now. In my current fucking setup. Pretty tough to avoid all that. Fine. I'm not gonna change anything for now. Just gonna try and get this done the way I'm doing it. Like, Sapphire Flask would be lovely and all, but it would ruin my wise oaking. So what's happening here? We're gonna do shape up phase while he's doing his shit now? Oh god. My frames. And then he froze me? I don't even know what happened. I think I got frozen. Fucking 10k PC Omega, lol. My game literally froze for half a second. Alright. But I think I got frozen after that, which is weird. I thought I had my freeze flask up. I started shield charging and got stunned. So yeah, the Sapphire or the Combs Roots, pretty big deal to be honest. It seems. I mean, I could probably afford to do a Sapphire. I can't though. It's not going to be much better than a Wise Oak. I have to balance it with a Wise Oak, and I just did not do that. This seems suboptimal. Oh, now I can't even get to him anymore. I was super fucking slowed still when I was trying to dodge that last one. And it just wasn't good enough. To be honest, I think if I had a couple more sets, the character could do it. Without even changing anything. I mean, it'd be play-based, but it'd be tough as fuck. Maybe I'll try another one tomorrow then. Like, yeah, Combs Roots, Sapphire Flask, both of those would be pretty nuts, but I think it's impossible. I think I'm okay with that attempt for today.